Welcome back to the Eight Man Breakdowns podcast. This is where we discuss all phases of the game of football, including philosophy, play concepts, questions, and more. Joining me today is Coach Zach Kubik. Coach Kubik is the head coach at Shelby-Rising City High School in Shelby, Nebraska. He's entering his 7th season leading the program and has 10 total years of coaching experience, including 6 coaching 8-man. Since taking over, he's helped turn Shelby-Rising City into a consistent contender, going from 1-7 to a 33-9 overall record over the past 4 seasons, with 4 straight playoff appearances, 2 district titles, and a state semifinal run last season. His program is known for its physical run game and strong emphasis on speed and explosive offseason development. He recently launched his YouTube channel, 8-Man Fast, so be sure to go check it out and support the work he's doing. Coach, thanks for joining me today.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
First, just kind of tell us a little about yourself, your high school days, and basically just how you got into coaching football.
Yeah, no, I went to Ashland Greenwood High School, graduated in 2012. And then from there, played college football at Dakota Wesleyan from 2012 to 2017. And then I started my coaching career out in Holyoke, Colorado, as an assistant for junior high, high school, all that. Went out to Ray then for 2 years. Those are both 11-man schools that I coached at. And then now found myself at Shelby-Rising City since 2020 as the head coach.
Would you talk a little more about Colorado? So you were coaching mostly 11-man out there?
Yeah. Coaching mostly 11-man. Just really got to be under some great head coaches out there. Levi Kramer and Dustin Sprague. Those were my first 2 head coaches I coached under, and they did a really good job just teaching me the game, teaching me how to coach, and learned a lot from them. So, again, just kind of wanted to stay involved with football, so I kind of led me out there as well.
So you went to Ashland Greenwood, so obviously I'm still getting familiar with Nebraska overall, but what class would that school be?
So that was C1. It's still C1 today. That's where we played. It looks a little different now. They're getting a little bit bigger, but definitely still same head coach actually, Ryan Thompson.
So the guy that put on the clinic, same head coach. That's awesome. So trying to talk a little bit about that too. You're coaching 11-man, obviously playing 11-man, and how you got into 8-man and the transition. Just talk about the differences and what makes you love the 8-man football game.
Yeah, I mean, getting into the 11-man to 8-man, I was kind of a little bit nervous, just kind of learning it. But again, at the end of the day, it's football, and usually the O-line, D-line tells you a lot about your team, and I think that's kind of where we started out in 2020, is trying to find an O-line, D-line, and try to just figure out the game a little bit. We got we played a lot of really good teams my first 2 years on our schedule, and got to learn a lot from those coaches too, just playing them and watching film. And it was kind of a learning experience for our whole coaching staff, because they had all been 11-man coaches for the last 4 years. So it was kind of fun to learn together and just kind of build that from there.
Keep talking about that. So then taking over Shelby-Rising City in 2020, taking over a 1-7 program. Talk about that, turning them. What was kind of the first things that you did to, change things in the right direction, the way you got it going now?
Yeah, I think one, it was just getting some the coaches on board with where we wanted to go. And from day one, they've believed in what I wanted to do when I got here. And then from there, it kind of was just the accountability in the weight room for the summer. I get the opportunity to run that during the summer. And I have an assistant that's the wrestling coach here. And we've ran that since we've been here. And so it's been really fun to build that throughout and get those kids to buy into the weight room. And then from there, we kind of could buy into our philosophy. And I think the coaches have done a good job of carrying it over, whatever I've needed from day one. And so, again, I think great assistants help you. Obviously, you understand that too as a head coach. And yeah, it's been really fun that way.
Talking about your assistants, how many assistants do you have? And do they also work at the school? What are their roles other than obviously being an assistant coach?
Yeah, no, I've got really good assistants. So we've got 3 paid and 3 volunteer right now. and we've actually got an onboard athletic trainer through the hospital in Columbus. So that's kind of nice to have that. So I have two that are in the building, assistant coaches. One's a fifth grade teacher, one's a middle school math teacher. So really be able to bounce ideas off them. Then we've got all everybody else is outside the building from there. But again, they've done a really good job of being here. We have Sunday meetings just very briefly, just to go over the week and talk about those things. And again, they've done a really good job of whatever I've asked, some crazy ideas that I've had, they've gone with, and told me that, hey, that's not a great idea or it is a good idea, and we've really bounced ideas off each other, and done a great job like learning the 8-man game, and it's been really fun that way.
That's awesome having that many coaches. Anytime you have that many eyes, it's great to have more. Talk about your team really quick. How many did you guys have out? And we'll get into this more later probably, but are you guys dropping D3 next year, D2?
We went to D2 next year, so we dropped one class. I think our enrollment number was 39, 9 through 11. I think that's what it was for the next cycle. Yeah, so I mean, it's going to be a little bit different for sure, just being in D2. But I mean, all 8-man teams are going to be great, and it's going to be interesting. Just with the three classes now, it'll be really interesting that way. It's really nice to have those assistants, and we've had numbers. So we've ranged anywhere from my first year, we had about 24, all the way to 32. We had 26 last year, I do believe. So we're right in that range that we've had out. We should have 30 this next year. So it just kind of depends. It fluctuates, you know how it goes.
No doubt. Let me change gears a little bit. And I know you talked a little bit about this at the clinic, but would you mind just, to the coaches out there that don't necessarily know Shelby-Rising City football or Shelby-Rising City offense, would you mind just talking a little bit about your offense?
Yeah. When I first started, we started out real spread, trying to run jet sweep. Found out that a lot of players get tired really fast that way. And if you don't have the depth, it's kind of tough to do. So we needed something to hang our hat on. And after second year, finally figured it out, and coaches bought into the I formation. And from there, we kind of build around the sweep and power run game. And again, it's a lot about just being physical, about kids knowing what they're supposed to do, just making it simple, making it fast. And I think the kids have understood it faster, so we can add a little bit more tweaks into there for it. And again, we base all of our stuff off our sweep and power, and it's been a lot of fun the last 4 years. Just the kids have finally, hey, they can kind of see it the way I see it, and we can talk a lot more during game, so that's kind of fun that way, and be able to make adjustments that way as well.
Yeah, and I know you talked a lot more in detail at the clinic, but simplifying an offense like that, obviously you can get in a little more detail with each year, and you've been there however many years, so you guys obviously building off it each year. What would you say makes the sweep game so effective?
I think it's the first step, in those kids understanding where they're supposed to go. And I think them getting off the ball faster, getting bodies to the front side or wherever we're trying to run the ball faster than the opposing defense. I think that makes it effective. If we can pull guards, if we can, we like to bring our QB with the block too. And again, nothing's been reinvented, but just watching some really good teams run the power I. That's kind of what we liked as well with it. And, we like to hang our hat on that sweep and understanding if we get more bodies to the front side or where we're trying to run it. We like our opportunity with our backs and let them do what they do.
You also help run the summer weights program, and you're involved in the weight room. So not only are you guys physical at the point of attack in the run game, running sweep and I formation, but starts in the weight room. Remind me real quick too. Do you teach weights in PE?
Yes, yep. I do
Awesome.
teach weights and PE during the day too. So I get the opportunity to do that as well. It's definitely a point of emphasis, and understanding that we can continue to make them faster as well. And I feel like that continues to make them more physical because they're going to be there. They're more confident. And we've saw that the last 2 years for sure that we've really focused on speed. The last 3 years we've gone away, and we can go into that more, but we've gone away from conditioning completely, just a little bit different way. So
And that might go right into my next question, actually. Tell those that, again, that don't know the ins and outs of Shelby Rising City football, what separates you guys? What's something different you do than, the other eight-man teams out there? What separates you guys?
yeah, it was after the 2022 or 23 season. We decided that we needed to change the approach of our conditioning. And I started starting deep diving into like Tony Holler, Brad Dixon, all those guys, and kind of just trying to figure out how we could get faster. That was kind of where I started. Well, then I really dove deep and found, that maybe I needed to eliminate some of the conditioning work that we had done so much of. Like I was one of those guys that had to have 20 to 25 minutes at the end of practice, just designated for that. I felt like when we got rid of that, honestly, we got more efficient at practice too. And we've really focused on speed development, and just trying to get those guys explosive, and keeping those guys fresh and healthy athletes. Biggest thing for us is trying to keep them healthy all the way through the week. We've done that a multitude of different ways. We do practice a little bit different, but again, it took some buying into. I don't know if we're 100% there yet with everybody, but I know my assistant coaches have completely bought into it. Or they thought I was a little crazy at the beginning when I said we're going to go away from conditioning. And I do believe that at the end of the day, there's a lot of games that you can't just look at and say, oh, conditioning was the answer why we lost. And when you can honestly step back and see that, I think more programs have gone to it now, and we've seen the benefits from it. So it's been really good.
I'm all in on Tony Holler, Feed the Cats as well, and 100%. And there's a lot of people that might say, that's soft or whatever, going away from conditioning. It's not as hard anymore. It's the old school coach mentality, of,
Mm-hmm.
well, we're not running. They need to be running more. They need to be tired. And when obviously Tony Holler and several other coaches nowadays they got all the data to back it up. And I love the rank record publish, which I don't run weights anymore, unfortunately, but we won't talk about that. But I did at my previous school, and I was doing all that stuff. We were testing speed 2 to 3 times a week, all the way through the year, essentially, other than track season whenever we had all of our kids did track. But no, I'm 100% believer in that as well, and that's awesome that you got. I mean, basically all your coaches. Change is never easy for anybody, so obviously there's going to be some, difficulty to that change at least early on. But once you see the success from it, then hopefully everybody's bought on and on board with it. So no, that's awesome. Would you talk about maybe like talk about the weight room and practice one day of the week during season?
So Mondays are our days off, completely of like physical things. So we'll get in the film room. We'll do that after school. But during class, most of them will have a class with me. So that's again just trying to get them back to 100% battery throughout the week here. And so Mondays are definitely our days off physically, but we're gonna try to sprint 2 times and get a max speed on them, a flying 10, 2 times during that day, whether that's during class, whether that's at practice. And the hardest part, I guess, for me right now, this is kind of a difficult part for me, is just as we get on throughout the season, as it gets colder out, I don't really like the sprint outside. So trying to find an area inside to be able to do it on those Mondays would be definitely something that we're looking into. But again, those are kind of the typical Monday. And then it's more walkthrough. If we're going outside, it's going to be a walkthrough type practice. It's going to be just install type stuff. And then it's usually JV game days. So again, getting those guys ready to go for the JV game and getting them out of here. And yeah, that's kind of a typical day. But then I guess our Fridays are our game day workouts. And I have a whole thing with med ball slams, jumps, just a quick 3x3 on hang clean. Just try to get the CNS firing a little bit on that Friday, and then just kind of go from there and try to get them ready for the game that night. So it's kind of those 2 days are like a little bit different than normal, I guess.
Mm-hmm. So obviously, like I said, I don't do any weights anymore. So and
Hmm.
we were the 100% the same struggle, where I had to somehow we had to mark it out in a gym and run sideways in the gym or whatever, and we could do some 10-yard flies or something in the gym.
Hmm.
But it's really hard, it's tight space, and especially if you don't have like a really big gym. And plus if you got other, elementary PE inside or whatever during the winter, it's tough. So yeah, that's the struggle with small school and limited space where it's harder to sprint during the winter time. But anyway, speaking of a practice then, so give me like a drill or just talk to us about how are you testing speed during practice time? What are you doing the same type of stuff? You doing like a 10-yard fly with like a free lap system or something else out there at practice, or what are you guys doing?
So we'll run flying tens, like on that Monday. We'll use it. We use our dasher system. We're benefit from our booster club to be able to buy that for us, and so we'll run a flying 10 through that. And honestly, to get our, let's say, 24 guys, it takes about 10-15 minutes after they're warmed up tops. And we'll run through the atomic. Basically, it's about three-quarters of the atomic workout that Tony Holler has. There's a couple things that I don't have on there yet, but we'll run through that as a warm up, and that's our typical warm up we'll do every day. But that's what we'll do before those flying tens, and then on Wednesdays if we do sprint, it will be no more than 20 yards, and we get up to about 8 20-yard sprints throughout the season. Then I'll start dwindling it back down halfway through, just knowing full well that we're getting into some really big games and just making sure they're as well rested as possible, but still getting that stimulus for the week. So that's kind of what we do on Monday, Wednesdays.
How's your practice set up, I guess, other than Mondays? What else do you guys do? How long are you practicing?
We're on Tuesday and Wednesday. I'm trying to go no longer than 2 hours, and that's even preseason. That's big game weeks. That's those type of days. No longer than 2 hours. I'm really trying to stick with Tuesday as to be an hour and a half. Trying to stick with that, and we'll get down to. I mean, there's times we'll get off the field in an hour and 15 on a Tuesday. Wednesdays usually are typical, little bit longer than normal, so we'll stick to that hour and a half, hour 45 tops. Sometimes it goes to that 2 hours. Just if we throw some more special teams in. But again, Tuesday, it's more of an install, more of a walkthrough. That's more of our indie time day. Like if we're gonna get any indie in, that's gonna be the day we do it. And I try to really emphasize that. And that's also through all of our special teams, try to talk punt and punt return that day. And then Wednesday, kind of like I talked about, I don't know if I mentioned this in the clinic, but I try to stick with the 15-35-15 method, which is just, I base it off of, we average around that 60-65 plays. And so I'm trying to make sure we have 15 plays Tuesday, 35 plays Wednesday, and 15 plays Thursday. Trying to stick with that kind of number. I might get a little bit outside that depending on the week. But again, trying not to, those are reps that we'd run during offensive periods. Again, trying to stick with that defensively. But again, defensively, it just kind of depends what we need that week. So no, it's similar to what you guys run for a week. And then, Wednesdays are big, like offense, defense, both days. We tried offensive day, defensive day. Just felt like we could make enough adjustments because we'll film both those practices Tuesday, Wednesday, and be able to look at them so we can make adjustments as well. So that's kind of what we look like during the week.
Just tell us a little bit more about this past season and talk about, team leaders, how many kids did you have for seniors? Who are you losing? Who's coming back? All that stuff. Tell us about last year.
Really special season. I mean, it was a building of these seniors. There's three of them that have started since freshman year, just because we needed to start building something, and they were all on board for it. They have been bought in to what I want to do since their seventh grade year when I came in, and they really bought into exactly what we wanted, and they are competitive. This class was super competitive. The senior class, really strong leadership. And it was it was a group that definitely understood the work that it took outside of the field. So the amount of film that they watched was like I never had to watch to make sure they were watching film. They came to me with, "Hey, I saw this, coach. Hey, I saw this." There's a lot of guys on this team that did that, and you ask for a team like that every year, but you understand that it's not always possible every year to have a team like that. And, no, they were really good, and again, it was full buy-in for them, and I think that's what made it different. And they were bought in since seventh grade on what I wanted to do as a coach, and what we wanted to do as assistant coaches, and just our identity that we wanted to make for the Shelby-Rising City program. And yeah, it was super special. Hard to lose, one game away, but it was a special season nonetheless. So
The full buy-in from day one from seventh grade, and just obviously you building a program now and being there for that many years and impacting those kids from day one, and they've finally got to get all the way to the senior year, and obviously you had a solid group together. That's awesome. Yeah. Tell us about next year. So what's going to be the biggest challenges, going into next season? How many seniors did you lose from this past season? And talk about, just tell us more about next season.
I think it's going to be difficult. I mean, it's difficult every year to replace guys, but I mean, we had you know, five, six guys that are really pivotal in what we did last year, and replacing them is going to be tough. We do have to replace four starters on each side of the ball, and we've had guys waiting in the waiting to their turn to step up, and a lot of it has to go into what we see during the summer here. That's kind of what we base everything off of. Is we have a pretty high. We go to a team camp, and we really like the July team camp just because we can see guys, compete at the highest level, and compete against other teams, and just see where they fit in to the season. We really emphasize going to that camp, and so we go to the Wayne State camp, and that's kind of where we need to find out, who can fill those roles. Again, I think we have a good identity and things that we do now, and the kids understand it. What we do during the spring here, we get together and have a chalk talk, and they get to learn the offense. The new guy, even the new freshmen that are coming in, they'll get to learn the offense that we're trying to run. And they get to draw it up on the board. We get to draw it up against different defenses, so they should understand it from day one. And that's kind of what we've done the last 2 years. And it's been really fun to watch those freshmen grow from the time they first step into the chalk talk room to, at the end of the season where they are fully comfortable with running the offense. And hopefully we can speed that process up a little bit. But I think just guys stepping up is going to be a huge deal, especially during the weight room in the summer. We put an emphasis on that as well. And it'll be interesting. This team's going to look different, but it definitely has all of the capable capable players in it to do exactly what we did last year, and I'm excited. So
I wanted to ask more about the Wayne State camp too. Is that a pretty big 8-man camp then up there?
yeah, so we go into July, and the last couple of years they've had anywhere between 12 to 15 teams on that. They have a 1 day option, but 12 to 15, and we really like going because we get a little bit different feel for teams. There's lots of Iowa teams. There's an Oklahoma team that usually goes. One year there was a Colorado 8-man team. But I think it's great to see different styles too. Because again, they don't see the fronts that we see in Nebraska. It's different, especially talking with them and what they're looking for in teams and what teams run. And it's crazy how just you cross a border and they run a little bit different. And so just understanding that we get to see a lot of different looks, I think it's really cool. And that's kind of why we liked it. And it's just a good also team bonding experience, I think, just to have the overnight, get them away. We vote on captains during that time usually. and you have to go to that camp to be a captain. That's one of the criteria, and so we put a really strong emphasis on it. We went. This will be our sixth year going, fifth year going because we didn't go. Yeah, yeah, something like that. And yeah, no, it's really fun. I would definitely highly encourage just finding a team camp, whether it's that one or not. I think that's just a benefit of the team bonding part too.
I hadn't gone to one until, let's see, it would have been my second year at Stafford. So three, four, a little over 4 years ago now, we went to Kansas Westland in Salina, and that was good. There was only about six, 8-man teams, so it wasn't very big, but they did a really good job. You know, they had the drone shot, they filmed it for you. And anyway, no, I agree. That's great. I've never actually been to an overnight, but I've heard so many coaches say that, you know, the team bonding part and getting away from home, and that's awesome that it's a criteria for your captains. That's really cool. Making them get there and be away, you know, commit to the team away in the summer, and then not only that, go play football. And like you said, seeing different teams, that's really cool. Last year we went to the Concordia one there, and we went to that, and that was a big one. There was like 23 teams there, one of the biggest 8-man team camps that I've ever seen. And most of the teams were Nebraska, but there was a few others. There was a Kansas team and I think a couple Missouri teams, but and then we went to the
Mhm.
Peru State one like a few weeks later. Then it was like majority were Missouri and Iowa teams, and so that was cool. There was only us and one other Nebraska team there. So like yeah, like you're saying, the further you get away, the you know the different teams you see. So that is a cool thing too, not going against somebody you see all the time. If you wouldn't mind, just talk about your 8-man fast YouTube channel. I know you know kind of recently got going, but what you're doing with that, and then kind of promote it a little bit. Just talk about it.
After speaking at some clinics and just being around other coaches and being just starting to talk to them and uh, just starting to talk the 8-man game, it really got me thinking and starting to look honestly. Hey, is there an 8-man channel? And I came across yours, which is crazy. Um, 8-man breakdowns, and I was like, how can I make it a little bit different? And just I think 8-man football is going to continue to grow. It obviously has in Nebraska. We're now to three divisions. And I think what I'm trying to do with the 8-man fast channel is it's more talk philosophy, more talk coaching styles, about practices, about all that type of stuff. Get into scheme a little bit. But again, just trying to promote the 8-man game like what you're doing. And I think it's really cool that, I feel like when I got into the 8-man game, I knew that I should go reach out to other coaches and talk to them. And I actually had the benefit of a coach that coached 8-man, Elwin Murdoch, Lance Steffen. He reached out and started talking to me about 8-man football. And I feel like if we could do more of that, just like what we're doing here, is really cool just to spread the 8-man game a little bit. And again, it's here to stay and it's here to grow. And I just want to be one of those channels that helps with that. And I think I'm doing that. I'm trying to do that, early on. But again, 8-man fast, hopefully can grow just as cool as this 8-man breakdowns channel.
Yeah, absolutely, no doubt. All you gotta do is keep doing with it, stay with it, and like you've already said, the 8-man community is great, you know, and it is definitely here to stay. There's not many rural towns that are growing, you know, so there's gonna be a lot more teams dropping down. But yeah, growing the 8-man game no matter what, and then I feel like doing YouTube has helped me in a lot of ways. Like, had I not started YouTube, I wouldn't have been doing these types of conversations with other coaches, you know, and getting out of my comfort zone, learning, meeting new people, sharing the game, and obviously always trying to grow. I mean, you got to start somewhere too, like you said. So Scott McCarty from, I forget, somewhere in Iowa. Basically, right around the same time that I started my YouTube channel, he started the Be Great 8-Man Football Podcast on Apple.
Yeah.
Have you heard that?
Yes, yes. I've listened to pretty much, I think, every single one.
Yeah. Yeah, no, his is awesome. I loved his.
Yep.
And he actually had me go on to his too. And then I tried reaching out to him. I know I don't think he's been doing it for a while. I know he has kids and obviously life gets busy. And I believe he's still coaching. But no, that's an awesome one too. And but yeah, any way we can help keep the 8-man football community growing and that's just yeah. I'm glad you're doing that. So that's awesome. Last two questions here, but a follow up. What do you think within the 8-man game? what's something you think might need more attention? Anything that eight-man football, what should there be more attention on?
One, I like how, I mean, you've done it a lot on yours. I would like the transition from, hey, how can I change this from 11 man to the 8 man game? Because I think when I first got into it, like you talked about, there's not a lot of 8 man stuff out there. And so, like, you're looking and you're trying to pick things apart, like, oh man, what should we run? Like, what do we do? I think if you could, that transition from the 11 to 8 man game, a lot more content on that. Like, I think that's where it needs a lot more attention, I think. And just that 8 man football is really good football. There's really physical, fast. There's athletic football in 8 man football, and I think a lot of people, think it's just high scoring all the time too. And it's not always high scoring. It's not always low scoring. I think there's great offenses. There's great defenses. I mean, it's football, and I think it's really cool. It took me a little bit to learn that, but being in the game now for a while has really showed me that.
100%. I agree with everything you said. Obviously, growing up playing eight man in my high school career, I felt like eight man, we were really successful. We went to the state championship, I mean, every year when I was in high school, but I felt like our, eight man guys, we were looked down upon. I'd say they probably still are, and like you're kind of saying, and some people think it's not real football, even though, like you said, it is. But by doing the 11 man to eight man transition, a lot of people think, well, you can't do it in eight man. I feel like every concept translates down. And back up for that matter. It's just
Yeah.
you got to find a way. You got to make it work. In a way. But no, absolutely, I agree. And nowadays, though, with YouTube and Twitter and all the social media, like now it's awesome that eight man guys are getting recognized and noticed. It doesn't matter what level you're playing at, eight man, 11 man, 6 man, even. If you're a dude, then you can play. And somebody will find you. And so that's what's great about. Might be one of the few things great about social media, but no, I 100% agree. Any way we can keep promoting eight man and helping others grow, but also revealing that it is football and people can be very, very good football players, even though it might not be known as football to some. So here, let me jump back to my last question, then I'll wind it down. But just advice to coaches. So any current coaches out there or upcoming coaches, biggest piece of advice, what would you say?
Yeah, I mean, just starting out as if you're starting out as a head coach, just find something that you believe in first, and then get those guys on board with it. And full sell on that, 100% sell on what you want to run, what you want to do, how you want the program to look, and those guys will buy in. The assistant coaches, the team, again, and let it take some time. It doesn't always have to be a full switch right away, but it does take time, and to stick with it, I think consistency is the biggest thing. Um, and going through the 1-7, 2-6 season really taught me that is just stay consistent with how you want to coach, how do you want it to look, and again, be open to new ideas and trying new things, but always stay yourself. And throughout that process, I think it'll pay off. So again, that's kind of would be my advice.
Yeah, absolutely. Stick with it. Find something that, fits you and your guys and stick with it, commit to it fully. No, I 100% agree too. And I think that could be a problem to not only young coaches, but even at least early in my career when I was assistant, I was definitely guilty of that. That was the word I'm looking for. Of like it's the off season, it's clinic season. I want to go find the scheme, the biggest, best change that I can make to improve our team. When in reality, a lot of times you just need to stick with what you're doing and find what works best, what you're already doing, and then build off of
Mhm.
it. And I
Yep.
think I think that's sometimes an issue in clinic season or the off season. People are looking at the wrong things to fix rather than work on improving yourself and improving what you're already doing, sticking with it.
Mhm.
But yeah, no, that's a great answer, coach. Best of luck next year and thanks for doing this with me.
I appreciate what you're doing here, and appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate you taking the time. So thank you, coach.
Yeah, thank you.
And that's going to do it for this episode of the 8-Man Breakdowns podcast. If you ever have a question for me, feel free to comment below on this video or follow and message me on Twitter at 8-Man Breakdowns. If you've learned anything or enjoyed the video, please click subscribe and check out some of my other videos right here. And as always, guys, thanks for tuning in.